Hello, my name is Jamie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Unlike any other YouTube channel that showcases Pokemon Go PvP content, mine exclusively showcases Shadow Pokemon. So if you're into that type of content, I'd appreciate if you could like and subscribe. So let's get into today's video. In today's video, we are taking a look at Shadow Poliwrath in the Open Ultra League. I've got a really high rank one, I think it's a rank 9. So, does Shadow Poliwrath have much play in Open Ultra? Yeah, it's got a lot of decent targets to hit, a lot of steel types and a lot of dark types running around in the meta. However, it's a water type that doesn't really have a water type coverage move. You can use Scald, obviously then you can hit back stuff like Talonflame for super effective. However, in a meta that's absolutely full of Giratina, I think it's paramount that you run Ice Punch. I did try it with Scald, and when I was stuck against stuff like Giratina, it was absolutely dreadful. As unlike Hydro Cannon, Scald just doesn't quite hit hard enough. Like, I have run Swampert in the past with Hydro Cannon and Sludge Wave, and it is manageable. However, Poliwrath with no Ice Punch, yeah, it's not really great. And obviously, taking super effective from Charm, stuff like Togekiss is really common, so at least Ice Punch you can hit back for super effective. So the moveset we did go with was Mudshot, Ice Punch and Dynamic Punch. The team we're going to put behind it are two things to cover its weakness, two things like Giratina, Cresselia, Charmers, and that's going to be Drapion and Snorlax. So without any further ado, let's get into the battles. In game 1 we pick up a good lead against Obstagoon. I say it's a good lead. Obviously, Poliwrath is a fighter, but it offers zero fast move pressure, so our Mudshot's doing hardly anything, whereas counter does start to really add up. They say switch into Talonflame, we switch into Snorlax. Obviously, Snorlax doesn't want to see Obstagoon. We bank a load of energy on Poliwrath first. We tank the first Flame Charge, and we start spamming out some Body Slams. We get a nice bit of lag, you love to see it. They get a free Incinerate for 1 lick, so 4 free turns. At this stage, I am just going to let the Snorlax go down. The opponent's actually running Hurricane. This is some crazy spice. I do understand it though, because obviously they don't want to get debuffed by Brave Bird. So I bring in Drapion, and I'm going to try and aggressively Poison Sting down. I correctly shield another Hurricane, and they now aggressively switch out back into Obstagoon. This is why I banked a bucket load of energy earlier. So Obstagoon is going to hit us with a cross chop. You can see that Shadow Poliwrath does have some decent bulk to it, and I'm now not going to bait. I'm going straight for this Dynamic Punch. It one-shots the Obstagoon. Let's see what they come in with now. Perhaps they were expecting us to be running Scald and Ice Punch. In the back is a Charizard. This is on Dragon Breath, so they are hitting us for neutral. We'd much prefer them to be on Fire Spin. So we get a shield with the Ice Punch. Once again, they could have been expecting the Scald. So I am going to go for these neutral Ice Punches, spam them out. You can see they don't do a lot of damage. It looks like the Charizard is trying to really aggressively Dragon Breath us down, so they're going to get hit with another Ice Punch. Poliwrath is so spammy. You can see now that we get him down to around a third of health. I switch out into Drapion, it's got loaded energy. I go for a Crunch. They shield it up. And at this stage, I've got a tough decision to make. Are they going to bait? Are they going to Blast Burn? I get baited, which isn't great. They now switch out into Talonflame, which is a bit of a mistake as they aren't going to be able to get to a move. I Poison Sting down, and this Sludge Bomb is going to be enough to take the game. So, GG to my first opponent. You can see there, we would have much liked to have Scald. It's kind of the way it goes. If you don't have a certain move, you kind of miss it. That's what makes Poliwrath quite hard to use. In this next battle, we pick up a great lead against Galarian Stunfisk. They switch out into Politoad. So I hit it with a Dynamic Punch. I now look to try and bank a bit of energy before switching out into Snorlax. I'm going to see what moveset they're on. They hit as well Weather Ball, so it looks like they haven't got Earthquake. They must be on Blizzard. They've got enough for the Blizzard here. Let's see if the Politoad goes for Blizzard. Blizzard lands. You can see it does around half of our health. But because they've gone for a Blizzard, I now know that I am going to be able to either force a shield or win switch. Body Slam takes out the Politoad. Back out comes the Stunfisk. Stunfisk is going to have to Earthquake us to take us out. They are building up towards the Earthquake. However, they are going to hit with this Superpower first. Superpower lands, does around half the Galarian Stunfisk's health. At this stage, I do think Rock Slide will be enough to take us out. Snorlax has done its job, so I'm not going to shield. Rock Slide does take us out. Now I'm waiting out my switch timer because they are misaligned. I bring back in Poliwrath, and I'm going to go for this Ice Punch. I know that Stunfisk has a load of energy, so I expect to draw a shield, which we do. At this stage, I have 2 shields. I expect they're going to bait, but I am going to respect the Earthquake. We actually correctly call an Earthquake, which is great for us. And in the back, they've got a Trevenant. So I'm going to fire off this Ice Punch just to do a bit of chip damage. As my switch timer is now up, I catch the Seed Bomb onto Drapion. It's 5 to the Seed Bomb and 7 to the Shadow Ball, so we're now in a great spot. Because they're now in Crunch range as well. Let's see if the opponent wants to shield. This Crunch will take him out. They actually do shield, however, whatever they throw, Shadow Ball would be better DPE. You're going to see it's not going to do too much damage. Does around 33 to 40% health. However, we outpace him to this next Crunch, and this is going to be enough to take out the Trevenant. I do undercharge it, but there's no undercharge that's not going to carry from that range. Stunfisk does manage to mudshot us down, which is a bit unfortunate. I am now going to shield this move up. Even if it's a Rock Slide, we are going to be able to get to this Ice Punch to take the game. So there you can see Shadow Poliwrath putting in a lot of work. GG to that opponent. Moving on into this next battle, we pick up another Obstagoon lead. This is one of the reasons I ran Poliwrath, as Dark types are absolutely everywhere. A lot of people are running Double Dark, and Homeslice Henry actually just put out a video with Triple Dark. That's why I thought, if any time to run a fighter, it would be now. I would normally try and catch the Grass Knot onto Snorlax, however these games were played on Battle Day and the lag was relentless. So rather than getting hit with an unnecessary charge move, I switch straight out into Snorlax and start applying some pressure with these licks. We tank a move. The first one was the Moonblast. Second time they do try and bait us with a Grass Knot, expecting a shield. However, I don't shield, and now we get the Cresselia really low. At this stage now, I can either try and shield and lick down. However, what I decide to do is a really aggressive play. We do resist Psycho Cut on Drapion, and we can tank 2 Moonblasts. So I bring Drapion in. I am actually looking to try and Poison Sting down. I would have outpaced him to the Crunch. However, I am going to go for the aggressive play. Moonblast lands, does around 40%, 50% health. You can see they don't manage to get the debuff, which is great. And now I've got 100 energy. Back out comes Obstagoon. These Sludge Bombs do about 45%. See, it lands and does huge damage. I'm now looking to try and catch the Cross Chop onto Poliwrath, which we do successfully. Once again, Drapion in the back has around 80 energy, which is going to be key in the end game. In the back is a Gengar. This isn't great for us. I'm unsure of this matchup. I'm going to shield the first Shadow Punch and look to get off back-to-back Ice Punches. Mudshot is hitting for super effective, and Gengar is so glassy. You can see these Mudshots have really started to add up. We do CMP tie. I am going to try and survive this move, which we do, and now I get to yet another Ice Punch. Poliwrath is an absolute spam machine. Ice Punch again draws the shield. I'm looking to try and get to another one. Unfortunately we don't, but all that banked energy is going to come in clutch here. This Crunch will be enough to take out Gengar, and now it's going to be a race. Are we going to be able to get to the Sludge Bomb and Crunch required? Obstagoon is so bulky in the Ultra League. Unfortunately, 2 Sludge Bombs isn't enough to KO, whereas in the Great League it would. Moving on into the next battle, yet another Dark lead. Absolutely all day I saw Dark. I was running a few other team comps. I did run Shadow Suicune lead, and I was losing so many leads to Dark type. Suicune was running Snarl as a fast move, so there were such dreadful matchups. That's why I thought I'm going to try out a fighter lead, which has proved to be quite good. The Umbreon is staying in, so they must be double weak to this thing. I'm not going to bait, expect them just to sack the Umbreon. I go for the back-to-back Dynamic Punch. Umbreon, an absolute bulk monster, doesn't want to see Shadow Poliwrath. They switch out into a Charmer, and I say switch into Snorlax. They meet me with a Talonflame. I go for this Body Slam. At this stage, I think Drapion is in a great position to clutch out this match. I'm going to shield up in case they go for a quick nuke of the Brave Bird. It's just a Flame Charge. However, I know I am going to start getting shields back with Snorlax. This Body Slam will either KO or get a shield. I know they're going to shield, as they're not going to want Clefable to see all this lick damage. At this stage now, we can rely on Drapion to clutch out this game. Flame Charge takes us out, and once again, I'm looking at the health. I am going to try and aggressively Poison Sting down, as we're going to need to get to back-to-back Sludge Bombs to take him out. However, I can see that they're not going to be Poison Sting down, so now I make a switch into Poliwrath. I have got loads of energy, but I don't want the Clefable to get any farm, so I'm just going to sack it.
And now we've got Drapion against Clefable. We're at the back-to-back Sludge Bomb. This should be enough to take out this Clefable. They call the bait. We're not baiting. And Drapion closes that matchup. So you saw there, even though I had the back-to-back Ice Punches, I just didn't want to give the Clefable any extra farm. So we managed to take that game. Moving on into this next battle, we pick up a lead against Gyarados. I do attempt to catch a move onto Snorlax while banking energy. I am unsuccessful, but the Gyarados does throw anyway. They throw a Crunch. They are staying in. So I am wondering now if this is the Home Slice Henry line with Lapras and Giratina in the back. They now switch out into a Melmetal. So I am now going to go for this Superpower. Superpower will do huge damage if it goes unshielded. They actually shield, which is a bit strange to me. I didn't expect the shield. I know we've got Poliwrath in the back. I'm going to allow Snorlax to go down. We'll take shield advantage. Our switch timers are now really misaligned. So I farm up a lot of energy. They now are going to hit me with a Superpower. Superpower does do quite a lot of damage, so I do shield it up. I now farm up to 100 energy and I go for this Dynamic Punch. I do undercharge, hoping to get a little bit of farm. However, with the lowered defense, that Dynamic Punch still takes him out. The opponent now switches back into Gyarados, so I am going to start firing off these neutral Ice Punches. This isn't a great matchup for us, but it's not the worst either. You can see that 2 Ice Punches will almost be enough to take him out. This Ice Punch should take him really low, and now I try and aggressively switch out into Drapion to Poison Sting down. We are going to have to take a move, but Aqua Tail doesn't do too much damage, and in the back they've got a Giratina. So, Giratina on Shadow Claw versus Drapion. This is a pretty good matchup for us. It isn't actually the Home Slice Henry line, but it is kind of a makeshift, kind of similar line. They've just got Melmetal instead of Lapras, but both do still take super effective from Poliwrath. We get the defense drop at this stage. Now the opponent's going to rough spot. They choose to use their last shield here. I am actually going to allow my Drapion to go down, and I imagine that Shadow Poliwrath should be able to clutch out this game, because if I would have shielded, I would have got Dragon Breath down, which would be terrible for us. We get a bit of lag. They switch out into Gyarados. I am trying to mudshot him down. I'm unable to do so. We get a bit of lag. This Ice Punch is going to be enough to take him out. And we're going to see if we can mudshot down the Giratina. And unfortunately, we cannot. Back out comes Drapion. We can't Poison Sting down either. And we simultaneously KO for a tie. GG's to that opponent. We now move on into this next battle. We pick up a lead against Lapras. This isn't a great matchup for Lapras. They must be running a Skull Bash if they want to stay in. I am going to hit him with this Dynamic Punch. You can see it does do huge damage, but Lapras is an absolute monster. They've now got the required energy for the Skull Bash. I'm not going to shield it though, as I know I will survive. And the opponent now makes an aggressive swap out into a Charmer. We switch out into Snorlax, and we are met with loads of lag. Unfortunately, the opponent isn't lagging. It's just us that's missing fast moves. So I'm going to shield up now. The Snorlax, I never normally shield Snorlax, but I haven't really got a choice as the Charmer's far too healthy for me to allow Snorlax to go down. We fire off a Body Slam. We're now at another Body Slam, so the opponent now is either going to have to shield or lose Switch. We do take Switch, however Snorlax is really low. They've got a Talonflame in the back. Unfortunately, I do throw at a weird time, but I do want to get this Body Slam off. We get the Talonflame with a Body Slam, and now I fire off this Dynamic Punch, which is a bit of a misplay. I should have went for Ice Punch, but I'm unfamiliar with Poliwrath, so I don't know which side my moves are on. However, we do get to yet another Ice Punch, and we actually draw both shields. So now we're in a bit of a tricky spot. This Talonflame is loaded full of energy, and we've got a Drapion. So I call the Flame Charge. I'm hoping they don't go straight Brave Bird. They do bait us. I am going to have to respect this second one though, as it will get us super low. So this Talonflame now is energy dry. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. They switch out into Lapras. So this is where you're going to see the importance of counting fast moves. I overfarm as much as possible. Just before they get to a Surf, I fire off this Crunch. And now I'm going to throw this Sludge Bomb against the Talonflame to take this match. I think the opponent made a bit of a mistake there. They give us a win con, but you've got to capitalise on your opponent's mistakes. Once again, you see yet another Dark lead. The meta is absolutely riddled full of Dark. And I think if I really wanted to capitalise this, I would run Shadow Granbull, but I hate Charm. So we went with Poliwrath. The opponent switches out into another dark type, so I wonder if this is the triple dark team. I am going to fire off a dynamic punch. The opponent actually shields. I'm going to fire off another dynamic punch. Let's see if the opponent wants to give both shields up here. They actually shield twice, so now we're up 2 shields. I now bring in Snorlax, as obviously it does want to avoid the Obstagoon, as Lick is triple resisted, as normal double resist and dark single resist Ghost. We get to this body slam. This should be doing a nice bit of chip damage. Alolan Mott is really bulky, and once again Lick is resisted. I'm now in a bit of a tough spot. I don't really want to leave this Mott with so much HP, so we do correctly shield up a Dark Pulse, and the opponent aggressively switches out into Obstagoon, trying to snipe us. I am going to use my last shield here as I'm at the superpower. Superpower from Shadow Snorlax is going to do huge damage, as it is double super effective. We get the Obstagoon super low and we snipe it with Drapion, and whatever's in the back, the opponent doesn't want to see Drapion and they quit that matchup. So moving on into this next battle, once again another Obstagoon lead. This time they switch in to Jirachi. Jirachi kind of threw me off a little bit, as we don't really see that too much in the Open Ultra League, but it is a pretty solid pick. Lick does hit for super effective damage. However, Confusion does really chunk, and these Doom Desires do come up quite quickly. We fire off a Body Slam, we do get a shield. At this stage, I am now going to shield myself and look to try and win the one shield. So I go for as much Lick damage as possible, and just before I get taken out, I fire off this Body Slam. Even though it is resisted, it will be enough to take Jirachi out from this range. The opponent actually really aggressively double shields, which does pose a bit of a problem. So I bring in Drapion. Drapion does resist Confusion. We tank one Doom Desire, that hurt quite a lot, and they've got a Talonflame in the back. Once again we get hit with a great bit of lag, which does force me to burn a shield. Once again, lag is brutal. We shield the Flame Charge, and now I'm going to look to get off these 2 charge moves to take out the Talonflame. First crunch does get him quite low. I overfarm just a little bit, and I go for this second crunch. This second crunch will take out the annoying Talonflame. Let's see what's in the back. I spam out into Poliwrath. I go straight for this dynamic punch. This should be enough to take out Obstagoon, and that low health Jirachi we should be able to finish off with Mudshots. The opponent does go for a charge move. This is just going to be a Doom Desire, which is resisted due to our water typing. And we go for this Ice Punch. Ice Punch is resisted, but it is going to be enough to take this game. So GG's to that opponent. Moving on into this next battle. We pick up one of them leads while you can see so many people running dark, a Cresselia. So we look to try and catch the Grass Knot. We're unsuccessful. We switch into Snorlax and we're going to get it with a charge move. The Moonblast does land and does quite a lot of damage, and they now switch into Lapras. However, they have switched out really late, so we could potentially win this matchup. Lapras goes straight for a Surf, which isn't too threatening to the bulky Snorlax. We now look to get off this back-to-back superpower. One superpower unfortunately isn't enough to KO. However, if they don't respect this second superpower, this will flip switch. Will the Lapras burn a shield? They actually let it go down, which is great for us, as our Poliwrath really does not want to see this Cresselia. Unfortunately, we do get farmed down, but we've got a pretty solid response with Drapion. Once again, the opponent is going to fire off a Moonblast. They actually bait me with a Grass Knot, which is one of the weirdest plays I saw all day. This now definitely is going to be the Moonblast, so they obviously don't want to see Drapion, so I do shield it up. I'm over farming quite a lot. The opponent isn't switching out, so I wonder if they've got something else like a Trevenant in the back. Either Trevenant or Giratina would be my bet, why they're staying in with Cresselia. So we are going to spam out these crunches. We draw both shields, so they definitely have something in the back that doesn't want to see Drapion. We get the defense drop, so I'm going to shield this up. The opponent does switch out to reset their debuff, and there is the Giratina in the back. So Drapion is in an absolutely great position. You can see that crunch does huge damage. We are able to tank one Dragon Claw, and we do resist Shadow Claw, so I'm going to build up as much energy as possible, and I'm going to catch the next charge move onto my Poliwrath. Poliwrath tanks these Dragon Claws, no problem. I overfarm quite a lot, and I fire off this Ice Punch. Ice Punch almost KOs the Giratina. It doesn't quite KO, so I'm going to fire off a second Ice Punch just to get rid of it. Ice Punch does KO, obviously as the Giratina hardly has any health, and now I am going to spam out these Ice Punches to stall the switch timer. Ice Punch doesn't do a lot to the bulky Cresselia, but they're going to have to get to 2 charge moves. One Grass Knot will take out the Poliwrath, however Grass Knot won't take out Drapion. I aggressively switch out into Drapion, 1 Poison Sting when the opponent isn't expecting it, and we get this crunch to take that game. So we overcome a really rough lead there. Moving on into this next battle, we pick up a lead against Galarian Stunfisk. This is great for us. They switch out into Kingdra. I'm not really sure what is my best response here, so I fire off a Dynamic Punch. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent lets it go through, which does huge damage. I now switch out into Drapion, as Drapion doesn't want to see the Galarian Stunfisk. The opponent looks like they're building up towards the outrage, so I get in first with a crunch. The opponent completely sacks the Kingdra, and they switch back out into the Stunfisk. Stunfisk has a really dominating matchup against Drapion, however we can spam out these crunches. We get the defense drop, which is great, and now the opponent is forced to throw some energy. We would survive a Rock Slide, like you can see here, so we get to another crunch. The opponent should have went straight Earthquake, so we get to this second crunch, which actually draws a shield due to the defense drop. However, now unfortunately we would get Mudshot down, so I aggressively switch out into Snorlax to soak up some energy. The Stunfisk fires an Earthquake, but the bulky Snorlax isn't too phased by that. At this stage, I now believe this is just a Rock Slide, which it is. Snorlax isn't phased once again. The Stunfisk does stay in, so I go straight for this Superpower, as I imagine the opponent isn't going to want to go down 2 shields. Superpower takes out the Snorlax. In the back is a Dragonite. Obviously, fighters and mud boys don't really do too well against anything that flies. However, Poliwrath can hit for double super effective with this Ice Punch. So I am going to have to try and force a shield, which we do. And I'm really hoping that this second Ice Punch is enough to take out Dragonite. You can see there the double super effective move almost KOs, and we actually mudshot the opponent down. The opponent obviously had to try and Dragon Breath us down as the win con, as we still had 2 shields. So the opponent was going for the correct play. And now we're going to move on into the last game of the video. We pick up a lead against Empoleon. This is kind of neutral. Mudshots do hit for super effective. They can hit us back for super effective with Drill Peck. And we can obviously hit them for super effective with Dynamic Punch. You can see Drill Peck does do massive damage. I expect the opponent to try and switch, which they do. They switch out into another water type. So this, I imagine, is going to be a triple water team, which is a bit of a problem for us. I now look to try and catch the Hydro Cannon onto Snorlax while banking a load of energy, which we do successfully. However, this is not a winning matchup for us. Swampert, so far ahead in energy, is a problem in the back for this team. We will survive another Hydro Cannon. They would need to go for an Earthquake to take us out. It is just a Hydro Cannon, so now we do manage to get to this Body Slam. So now we could be forcing a shield from the opponent. The opponent just lets it go down. They come in with Empoleon and unfortunately get a load of free farm. Our Poliwrath is really low, and this Empoleon is now once again loaded full of energy. I switch out into the Poliwrath. I fire off this Dynamic Punch. I'm not going to bait. Dynamic Punch draws a shield. We're almost at the next Dynamic Punch. Unfortunately, we let a water through, which is pretty brutal. Second Dynamic Punch. Again draws a shield. Now I'm going to be forced to switch out into Drapion. We've got 2 shields, so I'm going to shield this up. This will be the Hydro Cannon, which does quite a lot of damage to Drapion. They actually hit the back-to-back, so I'm going to have to shield again. And now I'm hoping whatever water type's in the back is Gyarados. Unfortunately, it is a Feraligatr. So I'm going to have to try and take this Feraligatr out and have enough residual energy and health to take out the Empoleon in the back. So it looks like that crunch does around 45-50%, so 2 crunches should be enough to take him out. Unfortunately, the Feraligatr survives on 1 HP, which is brutal, as if we would have took him out there, we would have been able to win this game. However, the Empoleon does come and clean up. So you can see there, the Poliwrath lead is a really good lead in the Open Ultra League right now, as all I was seeing all day was Dark types. However, due to Poliwrath not offering any fighting type fast move pressure, I think perhaps something like a Shadow Machamp would be better. However, Poliwrath is an underused pick and it was really fun to use. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing, and I will see you all in the next